7, Prime Minister Morena.
Morena.
Can we start with Amit Nand? I don't know if you saw our interview yesterday, but basically he hadn't been offered any support. He was a witness to the terror attack on Friday. He hadn't been offered any counselling or anything like that. Do you know that everyone who was a witness has now been offered some kind of help?
Well, I know victim support were very keen for us to make sure that we were putting out their details, their contact information, usual practices for them to get in touch with those who may have been witness to a crime or party to a crime. It may simply be a case of victim support not having yet, Ryan, everyone's details, but I know they were very, very keen to get in touch with people. So yes, that support is available, and of course through our health system, support is available for people who witnessed what, as you say, was just a horrific and violent event.
Yeah, awful, absolutely awful indeed. Prime Minister, I wanted to move on to COVID and this sort of 2.5 or Delta 2, as you're calling it. We've all seen the reports in the news. We've been updating on people on what they mean, but we have some quick fire questions for you because there's a few things that we're a bit iffy about. Can you take, if you go to a gym, because a lot of gym owners getting in touch, if you go to the gym, can you take your mask off on a treadmill?
Well, the one change, we didn't change anything about, primarily the change we made yesterday was about distancing at gyms. So in mask use, of course, we've always said that in those indoor spaces, we do want people using masks. In the outdoor space, we're being more open about it. So we are encouraging people to use them as much as they can in those indoor spaces.
So that's, if you're on the treadmill...
My recollection is we haven't required them. We certainly haven't required them in swimming pools, those damp environments. They don't work as effectively. I'm searching back into my mind on gyms and mask use, though.
Prime Minister, you would hope we didn't make people use them in the swimming pool. They might drown.
Not in the pool. If you're a parent watching your child at a swimming lesson, Ryan, I'm not a complete idiot.
No, I wasn't saying you were. All right, what about people wanting to know about yoga and deadlifts and squats and things? Your advice is basically, if you're inside, wear the mask.
Yeah, look, as much as possible, we want to encourage people when they're in indoor spaces. The thing that we've learned about Delta is that when you're in those indoor environments, particularly if they've got, average ventilation, we know it increases the risk. And so that's why we've just tried to encourage people generally. But you'll see we've been pragmatic. In hospitality environments where you're eating, when you're drinking, we haven't required it there. And that's where instead we're supplementing it by asking everyone to scan in those environments.
Right.
So if you don't have to wear a mask, generally we are asking you to scan instead.
Can you if you've got a venue that's got indoor and outdoor space, people are wanting to know, can we have 50 people indoors and 100 people outdoors?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So 50 applies to the indoor space. If you also have an outdoor space as part of your venue, you could have up to 100 people there. You still have the same requirements around people being seated and separated. Those have always existed for hospitality at level 2. And
does 50 include staff, or is that patrons?
No, that's patrons. It doesn't include staff.
OK, great. All right, let's move on. The South Island seems to have lost a bit of patience with the COVID alert levels, which you can understand. There's one particular bar, Pomeroy's Old Brewery, and he says, look, I may have to start letting staff go because this level 2.5 or Delta 2, we just don't know how long it's going to go on for. So people are looking at letting staff go. Julie White from the Hospitality Association says people are starting to talk about remortgaging their homes. Will you provide support for these people at level 2.5, rent, rates, insurance, those sorts of things, even though it's not a level 3 or 4?
Yeah, so the two things that's really important for me to get out, because there seems to have been some who weren't aware of this, the wage subsidy is still available. If any part of the country is in level 3 or 4, the wage subsidy remains available. So people who are in the South Island and in that level 2 environment are still eligible to apply for the wage subsidy with the usual criteria. So if they find...
They won't get it because you've got to be in 3 or 4, right? That's what it says on the website.
No, you don't. No, you don't. That's what I'm correcting, Ryan. No, you do not have to be. If any part of the country is at level 3 or 4, someone can apply for the wage subsidy. So yes, in the South Island, if you still fit the criteria of having had that revenue decline, then you are eligible for the wage subsidy. And I have heard people in hospitality who haven't been aware of that. So happy to repeat that today.
Brilliant. And what about the business resurgence payment? Because that's a one-off payment, right? If we're going between alert levels like 4 to 3, 3 to 2.5, which is still sounding pretty dire for some people, will they be able to reapply or get another payment?
So we've been considering, because of course you're right that the resurgence payments really helped with those fixed costs. So it has been available for that one-off, but we have been considering some of those options, particularly as we look to have had restrictions for a bit longer than we have in the past. Keep in mind, for our first occasion that we were in a level 4 or 3 environment, the resurgence payment didn't exist at all. So we've brought it in to try and support those fixed costs.
You'll commit this morning to consider that for them, because they need it.
Yeah, we are having a look at some of those options.
Okay.
But Ryan, the other thing that you've mentioned that was coming up from business owners was just how long at level 2. Our public health experts have said that they do intend to keep as soon as we're able to, moving through the levels. So it's not a matter of people in parts of the country having to be in this level 2 environment forever.
Yep.
We do intend to continue to move.
All right, very quickly on the vaccines. It was 8 days ago now that Aisha Vera was on this program, 7 days ago now that you were on this program, saying that it would be in a couple of days we would hope to tell you something about our vaccine purchasing or swapping.
Yes, it was. So at that time, I had hoped that.
I am now handing over to you, Prime Minister, for the big announcement. Have we got more vaccines?
Well, obviously, we've continued our vaccine program with the surge availability amongst it. But at this stage, I don't yet have anything further to share on future vaccine supply. But I hope to do so this week.
This week. So by Friday.
Yes, that would be my hope, Ryan.
Okay. Very quickly, are we going to have to slow down? Aisha Vera said we would have to slow down our rollout next week. From next week, we would have to start managing demand, as she put it. Is that still the case? And who are we going? Will appointments be cancelled, or how will it work?
That would only be the case if we're unable to access additional supply, which is what Dr. Verrill added at that time. As we've always said, what we wanted to do when we found ourselves in this situation was surge up our vaccines. People came out in their droves. We had a 180% increase in our vaccination rate relative to before the outbreak. So regardless of the fact that we did have limited supply, we kept going, and we thought we will just work to try and find that extra supply. Okay. So that's been our plan, and I'll have a little bit more to say on how we've gone on sourcing that extra supply this week. Very
quickly, Prime Minister, one word or two words on David Seymour and his tweet yesterday, handing out that Māori vaccination access code.
Wrong. It was just wrong.
That's 2 words. Thank you, Prime Minister. The whole time we've been talking, I've been picturing people swimming with masks on, trying not to drown in pools. But I know that's not what you meant. That
is absolutely not what I meant. I think perhaps it's because I, of course, come at all sports as a spectator, not a participant.
Yes, quite right.
So it didn't even cross my mind that someone would think that I actually meant a swimmer.
Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, really appreciate your time this morning. 19 minutes after 7.